Hello everyone and welcome to OST Live, a weekly broadcast on blockchain, token economies, and branded tokens built on OST. A simple token, or OST, is a public blockchain platform that allows businesses to launch their very own branded token. And on this episode, we have our very first partner interview with a new partnership that we have with a company called PassKit. And with us today, we have Paul Tomes, which is the co-founder and CEO at PassKit. And we also have Chris Stark from our team, that is the co-founder and chief commercial officer at OST. Guys, welcome to OST Live.
Hey, great to be here.
Let's go ahead and get started with PassKit. Paul, you're CEO of PassKit. Can you go ahead and give us a quick brief on what PassKit is?
Sure. So PassKit is a loyalty platform, and it enables businesses of any size to create and connect and engage with their customers via their smartphone. Over the course of the last 6 years, we've leveraged technologies such as mobile wallet. So that includes Apple Wallet, Google Pay. We leverage beacon technology to deliver highly precise location messages to entice customers to come into a store, to allow customers to know where they can use their loyalty points, where they can use their vouchers. Ultimately, it's about businesses being able to have an intimate relationship with their customers via a smartphone without the need for their customers to install an app. So the first phase of PassKit has been about digitizing content that would otherwise be a plastic membership card or a boring piece of paper stamp card that businesses would give out to their consumers and expect them to come back the next day and remember to bring that boring piece of paper stamp card. Now that's digitized and inside everyone's favorite piece of equipment, their smartphone.
So an example of this would be, say, if a gym wanted to digitize their sort of process, instead of carrying around that plastic card, they can have it on the iPhone like wallet app. Is that sort of an example?
Exactly that. So, you know, if we name a couple of the bigger clients that are using PassKit, Best Western International, large hotel chain, and up until working with PassKit, when someone signs up for a Best Western rewards program, they would typically fill in a form on a piece of paper. That piece of paper would get sent through the post to be processed by someone behind a computer. 3 weeks later, a plastic membership card would be sent through the post. The person would look at that plastic membership card and go, oh, I can't even remember signing up for Best Western Rewards. Maybe, if they're lucky, put it in their leather wallet and remember it the next time they go to Best Western. After PassKit, now a customer signs up on their phone, instantly is delivered a digital card, which is then stored in Apple Wallet or Google Pay, instantly inside their phone. No need to go to the iTunes store, no need to go to the Google Play Store, because these applications exist in the phone already. Now I have digital membership card inside my phone. When I'm coming close to a Best Western hotel chain, or when I would like to be reminded to book and use my points at Best Western, I get a simple lock screen message on my phone. So we've digitized what would have been a very boring, wasteful, and in many cases costly membership card that ultimately gets thrown in the bin most of the time. We're making that something that's simply stored in the phone and a polite, subtle reminders for customers to allow them to get a better experience from that membership program that they signed up to.
And quick question, so how many businesses are using PassKit?
So in total, and we've got a broad range of different size businesses, there's over 50,000 businesses globally. And of those 50,000 businesses, there's now 250 plus million passes, which is the name we give it to a digital piece of content sat in the phone, over 250 million passes that are out there in circulation now.
That's absolutely a giant number of digital wallets out there from PassKit. So
Well, even if I mean, sorry to chip in again, but even if I just think of the amount of paper and plastic it's saving, I mean, being here in Hong Kong, and you see the amount of plastic in the seaside and the rubbish being tipped out. You know that it wasn't the main purpose, the corporate social responsibility purpose. But if you think of the amount of paper and plastic that's being thrown out there, that actually isn't helping a consumer. It's just, and it's not even helping a business. There's millions of dollars. Millions and millions of dollars spent on these loyalty programs that aren't actually delivering the goods. So we're doing a little bit for the planet, it's definitely doing a lot for the consumer, and absolutely doing a lot for these businesses to be able to connect and engage with their customers.
Definitely an added benefit there, being environmentally friendly. So you guys are working on a loyalty token that is called DisLoyal.T, and the clients that you're working with and the partners that you have, they already have loyalty programs. So walk us through, what are some of the goals with this loyalty token?
So building on what I've said from what we've currently provided, so if you like, we've digitized content. So that's been the first phase of at least moving loyalty in the right direction. But what we're seeing more and more, and what all consumers are saying, and indeed what businesses are saying to us, is actually the consumers are getting, even though digitization has helped them remain more connected, they're still struggling to, one, have true transparency over the number of points they've earned. And if we think of points as an asset, consumers are getting frustrated by the current loyalty programs that before they had 30,000 miles, which could buy them a flight, and they're very constrained to what they can use those 30,000 points on. But those are my points and those are my asset. And then the next day, those 30,000 points are actually worth nothing. I can buy an iPad cover. So there's the value of those loyalty assets and the ability to use my assets on things that I want to use those points on. So it's moving the next phase from digitization to tokenization of those points, to allow me as a consumer to use those assets as I like and where I want and when I want, and allowing businesses to have equally additional transparency, but also the ability to put some rules around how those loyalty points can be used, but in a far more open and interoperable way. Quite a long-winded way of saying we want to make it even easier for a consumer to have transparency, the ability to exchange my points, and for businesses to have the ability to really understand what their token or their points balance is at any one point in time. Because even just collating points inside a business is hundreds of people's hundreds of people, and all of those hundred of man hours that are going into just doing spreadsheets and saying, okay, this is how many points are out there. How do we mark this up on the balance sheet? Or what liability do we have? So bringing that transparency to consumer, bringing the ability to businesses to have a far more easier grip on how many tokens are out there or how many loyalty points are out there.
Yeah, so just to build on that a little bit, so as Paul said, one of the key principles when we started OST was, and loyalty programs are, whilst not the only use case, are a very huge use case, is that if I earn a token as a consumer, it's mine, and it has value, real value, which can be priced in any US dollars or any other currency, and you, the company, I'm your customer, I've earned this token, you can't take it away from me, I can do what I want with it. But hey, you might want to entice me to spend it in your ecosystem, and there's nothing wrong with that. But consumers want interoperability. So, if we could all just press a button and magically convert all of our loyalty points across literally the hundreds of customers we probably have, plus with all the cards that are down the back of the sofa and we've never used, we would all press that button. But it's just never been built before, and blockchain gives a really unique way for all these programs to be interoperable.
I mean, and there's definitely nervousness about it, of course. I think we talk about this a lot when we're talking to our larger clients, particularly the enterprise businesses. There is a nervousness of, well, I want to control everything, and I want to not allow someone to use my Best Western points at another hotel chain. Now, the beautiful thing with smart contracts and being able to build some of those rules is the first step is, well, you could just keep certain rules around these points, but start to grow those rules, which is ultimately going to give the power to the consumer, which is going to make them more excited about the loyalty program. So I think it's kind of flipping a loyalty program, because at the moment, loyalty program, let's face it, are pretty much not about loyalty. I mean, they're not engendering loyalty in a customer. They're not showing gratitude for your business. I mean, this is the word we talked about. They're not really enticing you to come back. It's more like, well, we've locked you in now, and you can't get out. That's not really a nice way to reward loyalty. So it's kind of flipping the way we look at loyalty and using the power of blockchain, using the tokenization and smart contracts to start to allow businesses to open up a bit, but also consumers to have a greater experience with a particular business or across multiple businesses.
Chris, you recently wrote a piece on loyalty points versus branded tokens. So what have you? Can you give us a couple of points of the differences between these two, and also some insight on what you have been seeing with companies around the world in regards to loyalty points versus this new introduction of blockchain tokens?
Sure. So. As you said, so that if you there's a Medium post I wrote about a month ago that looks at 9 fundamental differences. I'm not going to bore you with all 9, but broadly, the key differences are that if you own a token, it is yours, the consumers. You control it. You decide what to do with it. No one can retire that token. No one can expire the token. If it's a loyalty point, let's say from an airline, just because everyone's probably used that at some point, then as Paul said earlier, an airline can decide unilaterally to retire points or indeed inflate your points away so they're worth less. And there's actually a technical reason they do this, which is another big benefit of tokens for the corporate, which is, whilst this is going to sound crazy, it's true. So someone like a large airline, let's take American Airlines, they have a roughly $3 billion balance sheet liability. If you add up all the airlines in the world, you get to many, many, many tens of billions of dollars. If you add hotels and retail and everything, you get to $1 trillion plus of just balance sheet liability of their points programs. Yet if I give tokens to my users instead, the customer owns them. I get rid of that entire liability. So the reason people expire your points is an accounting reason. It's a CFO that wants to do it.
Yeah.
And that is not customer centric. So building upon Paul's point, we passionately believe that the most customer-centric companies succeed generally. Amazon's well known to be very, very customer-centric and have done an incredible job in disrupting retail. And whilst some large, the way I've done, B2B kind of business development for a long time, and very few companies are really early adopters. And so PassKit's one of the early adopters, and some of their clients will be early adopters. Very few companies are early adopters. Let's say it's a few percent. A lot of companies are fast followers, maybe 20 or 30%, and then the rest are just really slow. And so whilst a large company at first they might sit back in their chair and say, wait a minute, I want to be in control of everything. I want to control my points program. I want to control what they're worth. If you truly believe in having in kind of Web 3.0, Loyalty 3.0, whatever you want to call it, where you give the power back to the individual person, then you want to have the most customer-centric possible program. And it's just going to take one person to do this at scale. It's just like the internet. Blockchain's sort of mid-90s internet. The first mass use case of the internet, one could argue what it is, but email was clearly one of them. And once that happened, people got it.
Yeah.
And so we need just one use case of a company that's large enough that people have heard of them. And then you'll find entire industries copying incredibly quickly. So.
Great. And for that article you wrote, I'll be sure to link that down in the description below for the listeners that want to check that out. Paul, so there's a lot of different ways to launch a branded token. Why did you choose to work with OST on this project?
Sure. So we actually built one of our applications on Hyperledger Fabric. And I believe we were the first production application built on Hyperledger Fabric version 1.0. The product's called Loopy Loyalty. It's basically digitizing stamp cards. Now, we did that to really get experience with blockchain technologies and to better understand how we could address the opportunity in the market and some of the demands from our business. Now, that doesn't have any exchange mechanism. And while we built a great amount of capability with blockchain technologies, we also recognize the number of other functions and tools that are required to truly launch an exchange or to have the ability to tokenize points and have that easy sign up, ability to have reporting, analytics, all of those things. And we did also play with a number of other technologies. I won't name them all. But ultimately, what we like about OST is that it really is a full stack for us. It allows us to go to market quickly, to prototype solutions quickly, instead of us having to invest significant amounts of time, emotion, and money into building these components. We obviously can benefit by partnering with OST. That's on the technology side. Also on the business side, I'd like to say, just having these types of conversations and thought-leading debates also adds to the way that we can assist our clients, the way that we work together with our clients. We're on we're tapping into the leading edge of Chris and everyone else's thoughts in terms of what's going on in this space. So there's a technology component that allows us speed to market, efficient way to start building these solutions. Plus, there's a business component and a relationship component where we're learning from each other as well.
Yeah.
Great. And, question for both of you guys, Chris and Paul. How will both OST and PassKit work together to get major brands to bring a Loyalty 3.0 program with this new token to their millions of customers?
It's going to take some time. But the first step will be two things: building a proof of concept, which is something that's already underway, and ultimately showcasing and educating our current clients with what's possible. And there is an education component. As Chris has said, it takes someone that wants to be first. And I always think it's quite funny because a lot of businesses we talk to say, we're very innovative. We want to be the innovative ones, and then I say to them, "Great, let's go ahead. Then you can be innovative." And say, "Well, who else has done this?
Yeah. Who else in my sector?
Who else has done this?" Yeah. And well, they've done it over here. It's like, well, who else has done it in my country here? Well, this company. Oh, well, who else has done it in my country in exactly the same industry sector? So it is about finding the most innovative partners that are putting customer at the center of their mission. We're very fortunate to have a number of businesses that are in that situation. So at the moment, I'm socializing the idea. I'm providing them confidence over how this can actually work, and ultimately implementing a proof of concept. So that we, on a smaller scale, we can test the idea, and then we start to broaden that out across it. One particular example where we're finding that we're getting more warmth, if you like, is in the larger holdings company that have number of multiple brands, that each of those brands are running separate loyalty programs. So we're now starting to connect those loyalty programs up using a tokenized component to those points to allow for that exchange. That's just in this sort of the early stages at this point in time, but that's how we'll approach it from a PassKit perspective.
And actually a lot of those, a lot of these kind of holding companies that have lots of brands, often they've been built by acquisition.
Absolutely.
And the systems are so disjointed that, we say things are, well, we sometimes we joke that people fax each other stuff, but
yes,
they do fax each other things.
Absolutely.
And then someone types in a computer, and the computer has a black screen with only green, the super old screens. This happens. And so the way I explain it to people is we're trying to find giraffes giraffes have a long neck, right? So we want people that want to stick their neck out and try and have a go at building the next generation technology. Now, if you get that right, you'll get a huge head start over your competitors. Those that embraced the internet early, and genuinely embraced it, that happened. But of course, nothing's certain. So you need people that What I love about PassKit is we're very collaborative, and we'll pitch things together, and we want to work with companies that where understand that everything isn't certain yet, and work with us to build a great product. So.
And the other thing I think, just as you're talking, is actually the risk for these businesses adopting this is pretty low. Actually, the risk of not doing it is far, far higher. You know, if they continue to just disrespect their customers with the current loyalty programs, that risk is much, much higher than trying something new. And that's you know, something really I'm passionate about. We really do want to help our businesses. Of course, there's commercial components to these things, but we are really trying to build a new economy associated with loyalty and reward points.
And another point I wanted to make was, and I think Paul's starting to see this a little bit too, as we've been speaking to larger companies, so when I mean, you know, public companies or multi-billion-dollar revenue businesses, more and more so these companies now have a kind of a blockchain person. Oh, yeah. So the CEO or the founder, or whoever it might be, a senior executive, has realized that, hey, I'm hearing a lot about this. I need to get smart. I want to appoint someone to kind of be my point person to look across the business. This is especially true about conglomerates, you know, who have, could have vastly different businesses. And so I've actually spent a lot of my time meeting with, yes, the CEOs and the founders, but also having subsequent meetings with their kind of blockchain experts who are working out, you know, where could it be interesting within our portfolio. So I've seen that most in Asia right now, but it's happening everywhere, and it seems to be, you know, changing really very quickly. So and the people that these blockchain experts are, they're like really, really good people. So like it's you know, people are making the right hires to dig into this new technology. So.
Great, and you know, I'm excited for this partnership. You know, loyalty points is a great proof of concept and use case for branded tokens. So Paul, where can listeners learn more about PassKit and more about when this either will launch or just more information about the project overall?
Sure. So at the moment, we are very much in a proof of concept stage. So there's not a great deal of public information out there. So this is, as we were talking about, the approach at the moment is for us to work in collaboration with our current clients. However, if people want to get in touch with me and there's an interest, then you can just write to me at paul@passkit.com, or you can visit our site, passkit.com, and there's an easy way to get in touch with us. As soon as we start to build this proof of concept and we've got things to show, we'll obviously be showcasing that on our blog, on our homepage. Our homepage will be adjusting over time to reflect this new phase, from digitization to tokenization, this new phase of PassKit.com and the DisLoyal.T project that we're embarking upon. So that's probably the best place to go at the moment. And then hopefully we can do more of these sorts of things as well, as we can share progress along the way.
Great. Yeah, definitely looking forward to doing more of these to show progress along the way. If you're listening to this on the podcast app, be sure to check out the video version that's on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/OST.com. Chris and Paul, thank you guys for joining us today.
Great. Thanks. Great to speak with you.
Thanks, Jose. Thanks very much.